Hi all, it's Prak here from PGA Architects. Okay, so essentially my sort of formative years can be broken up into three parts, into 3 6-year intervals actually. So the first 6 years I spent in Maritzburg, actually commuting between Maritzburg and Durban in the old days. Maritzburg used to be called Sleepy Hollow, as everybody quite understands it. And in the next 6 years, actually was very interesting. I stayed in Prince Edward Street in the Casbah area, which was alive with so many different art, architecture, music. Many of my fundamental principles of morality and politics was generated from being in the Casbah area, from all the political activists in those days. And then later on in that period, the following 6 years was basically in a new Indian suburb called Effingham Heights that was just opened up by the track camera system, etc. And we moved out there, and I spent the balance of my primary school and high school in Effingham Heights, which was a wonderful, wonderful area that we grew up. And actually and it was a good educational system in those days. And set us up for a strong foundation. So that was basically formative years in a nutshell. That would be working for my father. So we used to own an Indian goods shop in the middle of the Casbah called Bargain Center Supermarket, and we used to deal mainly in Indian goods, import from India, and service the entire Indian community in those days with the rice and lentils, etc. And then that just evolved into servicing the community at large. And you should literally have to dish out beans and vegetables, etc., from containers into bags, etc., and service the community. So that was my first job. Again, it was how we used to do business in the old days. Labor intensive, 7 days a week. During all our Indian festivities, it used to be almost a 20-hour day sometimes. So when I look back at my dad and what he's done for us in that environment, he's put 3 kids through university. My brother qualified as a barrister in London, just on making 10 cents on a kilo of beans. Really, my admiration goes out to him. But yeah, that's where this work ethic came about. It was just work. It was work and a bit of business acumen to get everything together. But yeah, it was I don't think it was a hard life at that stage, because you don't know what an easy life is. So we just enjoyed it. Currently, I'm the CEO of our company. We have a group of companies. The primary one is PGA Architects, and then we've got PGA Architects, PGA Interiors, and we have PGA Amshlang Rocks Investments, which is our developmental arm, in which we do a lot of mixed-use buildings all over Durban at the present moment. And I'm the CEO of that those 3 companies. You know, when I saw this question, I tried to answer as to why we are here. And I think fundamentally, fundamental thing is either to create employment for people in a built environment. Young graduates that are coming through, make sure that there's employment for them in a very difficult environment that we work in. Mentorship is very important. I used to do cooperative education at ML Sultan in the old days, and then DIT, DUT for Natal University, and I finished up at KZN doing cooperative education. That means corporate between students and in-service students, as well as the business community. So I think mentorship is very, very important. So those are the fundamentals that I believe that we started this up. And it's just grown into a bigger business that we've got currently. So it's grown into built environment. It's grown into our own developments that we do currently, creating value, creating net asset value for clients. Every time we launch a building, we always say, buy now, you'll never regret it. And people come back and they buy again because they buy a plan and the asset value grows 10-20% by the time the build finishes. And also, we're very big in using our influence to make sure that the built environment is documented properly, that we create an asset value for businesses, for people, for parastatals, to make sure that we can actually get our buildings valued and contributing to the GDP. So my big task at the moment is to make sure that all our real estate can get an occupation certificate at the end of the build and can contribute to a GDP number. So yeah, that's where we are. You know, I think every time we complete a building, it's an accomplishment. I think the circumstances in which an owner decides to build in South Africa and go through this entire process of all the bureaucracy that we have to get plans approved, NHBRC, all the hurdles, which are, and people don't realize all our building controls are very first world hurdles, heritage approval, etc. And they're all in place to guarantee a particular product. And then go through all the issues that we have with our built environment, as you know, forums, interfering with the building processes, workmanship, the lack of resources, and then to finally finish up a building after everything, plus the amount of money that you've got to borrow at high interest rates, etc. And to see a building come out from the digital world that we work in into the physical world that it manifested itself. Every single building, whether it's a house or a boundary wall or a mega building, it is an accomplishment to actually build. So I think that is what I will say. It is really, and the amount of people that go into it. I mean, I don't know when last anybody's pushed concrete in a wheelbarrow, and he sits at the lowest rung of this entire pyramid of ours, but yet he does the most important job. So yeah, it's to those guys that we admire, and that's why a built environment, built form at the end is an accomplishment. Every single one of them. I think the best advice, two things, actually three things. One is just keep on walking. As long as you're walking and you're walking forward, you're fine. The next thing is that there's always a problem, try to be solution based to any of the problems that the world has, because that's what the opportunities is that where there's problems, there's opportunities. And the last thing was actually something to the value of what Nelson Mandela said. He says, if you walk through the valley of death and you have truth on your side, you will not fear anything. And those are three things that I'll always live by. I would say the biggest challenge that I've had was the first time I went to university. I grew up in we grew up in closed environments. And I remember working incredibly hard because in those days, the quota system to be at university was the other way about. So it was a very small minority was non-white, and the majority, of course, was black. So we were kept away from each other throughout our schooling, etc. We never integrated with other races, but we never integrated with people that were at the same level as us. And you know what they say? Kokai is king in the land of the blind. When I went to university and I put my work up, and I looked at my fellow colleagues at that stage and I said, this is going to be a hard 6 years ahead of me. Because when you see the playing fields leveled as a true reflection of your ability with your fellow peers, you then realize this isolation was not a good thing for us as a country. And that was the biggest challenge. And university, the first 3 years was hectic for us, because I think that we came from a township mentality, where we had blinkers on and we weren't exposed to the wider range. And I think that was the biggest challenge, the biggest thing I would tell you was those first 3 years of trying to get through architecture. Interesting, I had in architecture, when I teach it, it's called the penny drop phenomenon. You can work as hard as you want to at something, and if the penny doesn't drop, you don't connect the dots. And there was a visiting lecturer from the University of Free State. I remember his name very quickly, Dan Smith, and he was trying to get us to understand how it interrelates. And he said, look at somebody that you like. And at that time, I had a fascination with Frank Gehry, and he says, okay, don't draw, build a model of what you think this is, because you come from an artistic background. Build a model. Don't try to draw neatly, etc., because you're an artist at heart. So maybe it's the drawing part that's getting it done. And so all we did, he says, and don't go and buy any materials. Go through university, pick up whatever scraps that you can find, and build something. And that's what we did. We just built a model of something that had an inspiration. And from that, the penny literally just dropped, because you could feel what you're building in terms of scale, form, space, mass, and all the principles of design. And that was it. And it was just no looking back after it. Just 1 week, by the way. That's all he took us for. And then I had a fantastic lecture thereafter called Ambrose Adebayo, and he had this model route as well. He always said, build a model first and then translate it, and he was very good. And he came from, he was a Nigerian doctor. He qualified in Germany, and he was also quite instrumental in that, in taking us forward from an education point of view. I've changed. So I used to have an office separate to my design studio, and I went through many architects, and we are quite a moody bunch of divas, professional architects. I think we God's gift to the world sometimes. And I tried many architects in the back office, and I decided that I will do what I've done at university. I will come into the studio. So you are now you're from my studio at the moment, so you can hear all the background noise, etc. And that's how I believe I've been able to motivate the guys. I've been able to come back into this design studio and just sit here and run through it. And I've got a fantastic team. I mean, most of the graduates that come here are top of their game, but they just need mentorship. And I feel that being in the design studio was part of the mentorship program. And then I've just learned from other companies. Like, for example, we have a regular Monday morning meeting, design meeting. We have coffee and we have drinks and snacks together. In the morning. This Monday morning, everybody's always regretting coming to work. So I've tried to make it nice to come to work. So you get free breakfast in the morning, and just pitch up, and we have a good old chat, and then we have almost a 2-hour meeting. 1 hour is basically dedicated to business, and the other half an hour also just a simple chat as to everybody's personal lives, etc. And that's how I find, well, they seem to be motivated. One thing I must tell you is that we're very strict on a 45-hour working week now. So we try to say, look, guys, we need to start looking at architecture as a profession. It's an artistic profession, but you guys need time off. So we don't work weekends anymore. We've stopped it. We used to work 7 days a week at one stage. The guys just run on empty the following week. So we try to, on Friday afternoon, I don't want to see anybody after 6 o'clock in the office. You go, you have great Friday and Saturday, and you come back to work on a Monday. And we've tried to live by that now going forward, because everybody lives a life, and it goes so quickly. Time. It's Scotty Winahamba every day. Yeah. It's my wife, I must tell you, I met her when we were in standard 6. I thought I was the beeswax of everything, till they called out her name in assembly, and she had her marks were light years ahead of me, and she's inspired me. We started off as friends, and then we go out and got married, and we're now married for almost 32 years now. And she's been through some tremendous challenges over the time, and she's always risen to every occasion. When I got married, my father always told me that you have 2 brains. Just remember that. So yeah, I would say she's inspired me greatly. And throughout the years, she's from starting our business to encouraging me to start a business. When we qualified, there was nobody employing us as architects, especially as people of color in those days, because it wasn't a profession that not a lot of non-white people went into. And she just said, literally, effort. You will start a business, and she worked for the first year, and I started a business, a fledgling business, and we are here today because she actually took the step of actually bringing a stable income into our homes in those days. And whenever I had an entrepreneurial idea, we should sell second-hand clothing at one stage on the back of my dad's shop in Fitzgerald Street. For 2 years, paid through our wedding or engagement. So whenever I've had an entrepreneurial thing, she's always there trying to get money together for me for these ideas. So I would say it's her. And closely followed by my dad and all his advice, etc. over the years. I just cannot understand how we are not top of our game, and we have so much here. So, in our practice, we're not complaining anymore. Anybody complains about KZN, there's a door, please leave. I think we've got so much of potential that this province has, and we want to find solutions. For example, in the real estate environment, we want to make sure that the buildings we produce are of quality, that they enhance the built environment. We want to make sure that the city is clean, all aspects of pollution to our river systems is clean. We want to make sure there's clean beaches, because I can tell you, clean beaches are the biggest tourism boost for us. In this period that we had the riots and we had the floods, etc., the Umhlanga area, Mshloti area, prime beachfront property lost value. We actually lost value on a beachfront property. It's unheard of. So the city needs to actually, and they are getting the act together. I mean, if you go down to Mshloti after all the floods, etc., it's looking wonderful. So for me, it's basically to stay positive, to try to make sure that whatever opportunities I've had as a KZN citizen, I project those opportunities and make use of those opportunities. That means I actually do buildings, I do contribute to the GDP of our province. Pay your taxes, pay your rates, please don't do rates boycotts, etc. I know everybody always complains about politicians, etc., but your fundamental duty to any country is to pay your taxes, pay your rates, pay your services. Without paying for services, nothing works. You understand? And I've got great belief over the couple of years in civil society, where it was the floods, the riots, for civil society to be more active in politics. I remember going to a temple one day. The community was complaining about the water, and one of the guys said, "Don't use praying to God. You actually need a politician, because a politician is the only one that's going to make this thing work." So I think politics is an important thing. I think people need to be more active in politics, because politics, I remember Alden Lipman once saying something to me. He says, "You may not be interested in politics, but politics is always interested in you." So just remember, we are a democracy. We need to protect this democracy. We cannot become a dictatorship. We have to protect democracy, and a civil society. We must actually take the baton. This is us. This is our country. It doesn't belong to a particular party or a particular person. It belongs to us, and people need to realize the power that we have in our own hands. Yeah, that's it. Hey, I would say never say die. Just keep going. And also enjoy the ride. It's such a small thing. People worry about everything. One of my late friends, Barry Pillay, he passed away during COVID, very tragically. He used to always live by man. Every time I used to worry about something, he says, in a year's time, you won't even remember this. So don't worry. Don't try to keep all those, as you proverb, all those eggs up. Find out who's dropping the eggs. That's your thing, So yeah, I would say that people just worry. They just worry too much, and they stress out too much, and you just gotta be calm. There's always a solution to every problem. Just remember, the sun's gonna come up the next day. Keep on smiling through it. There's nothing else you can do. People like happy people.